Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Hello.
Hi.
Love you.
Ciao. And g'day.
Welcome to our channel.
You can say your name?
I'm Sam. Welcome to our channel. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lily.
Okay, baby, what are we here to do today?
We're going to read some more Reddit stories, I believe.
Some juicy story.
Demonstrate a little bit more of our
Relationship knowledge.
genius. Yeah.
Let's grab your phone and find some Reddit stories. I have saved some stories. Some were really interesting. So,
Interesting.
Also have two accounts. You need to log in the other one as well.
I'll tell you something about Sam. She has this pathological issue, some might call it a disease, where she is actually physically unable to have something with only one account. On every platform, she must have two or more accounts. Otherwise, she probably dies.
What do you mean?
How many Gmail accounts do you have?
Because
Let's move on.
let's move on. You're roasting me on the internet, where people are very nice, as we know. So
Yeah,
No
you don't need
issue.
me being mean on top of all of that. I really love her. These are the things that I love about her. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I think there's a bell that we'd like you to press.
oh, wait, what? Oh,
Please, can we do that?
I remember this one, and I think there are some updates as well.
Yes, we love updates. Read away, baby.
Let's go. So it's from Relationship Advice. Trigger warning. Accidental death, false accusation, potential mental illness. My 30 female husband, 33 male, accused me of murder out of the blue. How do I salvage this? I can't even imagine you come home and you're like, oh, you murdered this person.
Is it gonna be like that one that we heard the other day with the pregnant wife? Like, is the husband suffering some kind of psychotic
I think
episode?
This is long and ridiculous. Sorry. My 30 female husband, Luke, 33 male, had a sister, Laura, 29 female. We were all close and saw each other 2 to 3 times a month, along with their parents. Almost 6 months ago, Laura fell down the stairs at their family home and died.
Oh my god.
It was a freak accident. There's a window on the half landing and she hit her head on the sill. Fuck. I was the last person to see her. I was there for less than 10 minutes and she was in her pajamas making coffee.
Oh my god.
I didn't even stay for a drink, and I struggle with how such a brief and meaningless interaction could have been her last. She deserved so much more. My husband and I have only been married for a year, but we've been together for 4 and have known each other for 20 plus. When Laura's parents found her, they called my husband straight away and we rushed over. We faced the whole thing as a family. In the days after, Luke started quizzing me exactly what we talked about, what she was wearing, where we were standing, etc. It progressed to saying I was providing conflicting information on tiny details he was deliberately misunderstanding, and accusing me of withholding information because I couldn't tell him things like what pajamas she was wearing. This escalated quickly, but lasted for less than a week. As I lost my cool and made it clear that I was done answering questions, he didn't bring it up again, and I wrote it off as a grief quirk. His behavior was generally that of a normal grieving person. I can imagine going a bit crazy if you lose
100%.
a sibling.
I think people deserve a little bit of understanding, and that person is probably not going to be in their best state of mind during that kind of time, and it could last. She said a week was the time
Mm.
frame. It could last so much longer than that.
Yeah. And also, I can also see, like, I don't think I would remember what someone was wearing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like,
You definitely would.
I definitely wouldn't. But I can see why he's maybe reacting like this, but I can also see
Yeah.
her point of view and be like, no, like, you need to stop asking me
Also,
this before everything.
sorry, baby.
It's okay. I love you, baby.
I love you too. My brain's just like,
I know, it's okay.
I think he's been watching too many like true crime documentaries because
maybe.
he's like, you've got conflicting statements. It's like you're not an interrogator. Also, like, I can understand not putting full trust in the police. Like I was about to say, you need to leave that kind of stuff to the police. Like you need to trust in the police, but then my brain was immediately like, I can understand why you. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I do think like grief makes us do like a lot of crazy stuff, so I can see why he's reacting. Like I can't imagine like the pain, and so he's trying to find something to make that makes sense. Why should, because it's so like crazy to lose someone in such a.
You're searching for ways to make it make sense, and also I think that having someone to blame maybe helps like subside some of those feelings of uncertainty.
Last Friday, he outright accused me of murdering her in front of his parents, out of the blue. We were all stunned. There was an inquest which recently concluded, and there was never any doubt the verdict would be accidental death. He said it was completely obvious and he couldn't believe that no one else could see it. He claims I went through his phone and found his messages with Laura. I have absolutely no idea what messages he's talking about. I have never looked at his phone. And then I went over to confront her and things got out of hand and pushed her downstairs.
Can I say something? It sounds like he's hiding something from the wife that he's spoken to Laura about, and that's why he's so sure
that something
happened. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. He could just be grieving, but from that comment,
it could also be a mix of the two. He's grieving and also he was hiding something, and so this is the result.
For sure. Like I'm still empathetic towards him.
By the end, he was shouting about going to the police and getting the inquest overturned, and how I wasn't going to get away with it. Let me be clear, Laura and I had a great relationship. We all did. I have no idea where this has come from, other than these messages I haven't seen, and even then, I don't think there's anything I could ever see on someone's phone that would drive me to murder. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what makes me feel like it's projection of some kind. Like, oh, this would make me murder someone. Or maybe not to that extent, you know what I mean?
Maybe he's feeling some guilt like towards sending those messages, and so he's projecting that.
Maybe he thinks that he's the reason why she was mad enough to murder her.
Yeah.
But this is crazy. Like, it's so out of the blue. They've been living together, I assume, sleeping in the same bed and everything. And then, but he's been thinking the whole time that she murdered his sister. Like, what the fuck?
This is proof of, we don't know what is going on.
You mean
someone
as in they might
brain.
be a murderer? Or they might be thinking you're a murderer?
Yeah, as in like, what are they thinking? What stories are they making up in their brain? This is why it's important to communicate, like in a very way little scale. Like, this is why it's important. Sometimes I assume that you're feeling a certain way towards me and I am reacting to that thought that I have, but that's not what you're thinking.
But also, I'm not assuming
murder
that you're thinking I'm a murderer. I'm never going to assume. Like, I'm always going to assume that you're not suspecting me for murdering your sister.
I think that's a safe assumption. But what I'm saying is, like, on a way more little scale, like, this is like a gigantic thing. But what I'm saying is sometimes we really don't know what the other person is thinking, but we make up our mind to think like, oh, she's probably thinking this and that, and, you know, oh, she's mad at me. But it's not the case, because you don't know what is going on through someone's mind.
Your advice is don't just assume what someone's thinking.
Yeah. He's been with his parents since this happened and will not talk to me at all. I've had some contact with his mom, but she's not being very communicative. The last I heard, she didn't know what messages he was referring to either. I am still completely stunned and I have no idea how to proceed. I made a commitment to be there for him always, and I understand that grief can manifest in strange ways. Part of me feels like my love for him died the second he called me a murderer, and I don't know how we could possibly work through this. I also really don't want to be thought of in this way, and I have no idea if he has said anything to people we know. I obviously haven't. A brain tumor or psychotic break has crossed my mind, and I suggested it to his mother, and she just said that she'll talk to him. Other than the questions before, he hasn't been acting odd. Obviously, he's been grieving, but he seems sane and sensible other than this. I feel like I'm going mad. Does anyone have any advice at all?
Yikes. I don't know whether the mother's also just grieving and probably dealing with, everything that happens after someone close to you passes away, like all of the
Especially your child.
logistic things you need to do, like the funeral and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of sounds like maybe she's found out what the messages were about, and now also low-key believes that it's possible
Yeah.
that she had something. But I mean, if it was ruled undoubted, there must be evidence against foul play being involved, I would hope.
It is a bit odd, the mom's reaction to it all as well. I don't know, maybe she has suspicions as well, or like you said, maybe she did read these messages and now she's doubtful. It's a bit...
I need to know. I really hope it's in the updates what's in the messages.
Maybe she is very worried about her son, and so now she's just not
focusing on him.
correct.
Yeah, it could be anything, but
it was posted 47 days ago, and I was there I was there on day one.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was reading
That's
the
so
comments
recent.
as they were going. That was crazy. I read some comments just to give some context to it, because she
replies.
Someone says, you need to get a lawyer to protect yourself in case he does go to the police. I would write down everything that you can remember that happened and keep it just in case. He may be having a psychotic break. Save everything. You need to take his accusations seriously and cover your ass.
It's crazy to go from being in a loving marriage to being one accusing the other of murder and you having to protect yourself. That can happen in marriages.
Can you imagine one day you're married and you're happy? Well, I mean, you're going through a huge loss, but you're married and you're like a team and everything, and then the next day you have to think about, oh, I can't talk to them because
they could get me.
They could get me framed from it. Like, you need to be careful. Like, you need to really be careful. I don't know, it's insane.
I honestly, just to jump the gun a little bit, but either there's no recovery in this situation, unfortunately. It's so unfortunate. We were talking about it the other day, sometimes there's just things like deaths in the family, horrible tragedies. There's sometimes just things that happen that
you can't
cause you to split up,
and
maybe you wouldn't have split up if those things didn't happen. It's really really unfortunate, because you can have all of the foundations in place that we always spew about, like communicate, go to therapy, all of that. You can have all of that in place, and still something could happen just to taint the relationship, and it just won't work.
To prove, if I genuinely think that someone murdered someone I know and care about, I would do anything to prove it. Anyway, she replies to this. I was interviewed by the coroner's office after her death, as I was the last person to see her. She died about 3 hours after I saw her, and I'd been to the supermarket and was home by that point. It's all verifiable and was recorded.
I would have thought there'd be receipts from the shopping.
Yeah, for sure you can prove that.
But time of death is not always accurate.
So you suspect...
I've also watched too many crime documentaries. So.
And you suspect our OP as well. Most of the comments are saying that the relationship is not salvageable and that she needs to be safe. She needs to get away from them and make sure that she's safe. Someone said, psychotic break sounds as possible as anything else, but even for a close sibling, that just doesn't make sense to me, especially if his parents aren't responding this way. I would definitely see about getting those text messages, because they either do not exist, in which case he's nuts, or some real fucked up Egyptian royalty Habsburg, I don't know how to say this.
I don't know either.
Dynasty shit was going on between he and his sister, and he thinks he found out about it.
Yeah, that's not where I thought it was going with the messages.
Yeah.
I thought that he was. I
And
thought
his
he was
sister?
confiding
And his
in
sister?
his sister about maybe an affair he was having or
Something
other
like
thing.
that. Yeah, not that they were. Yeah.
fucking each other.
She replies, I'm absolutely desperate to see these messages. It hadn't occurred to me that they might not exist. I've never known him to lie, but I do think a mental health issue is a real possibility. His relationship with his sister didn't seem odd, and I've never been interested in his phone, but he's never been defensive about it either. So I think you might be right. If I had such incriminating messages, I'd probably worry about them before now. Someone replies, does he have an old iPad that was linked to his phone? Just thinking that if he did, you might be able to find out whether or not there are any messages.
Oh my god, this is just getting juicier and juicier.
I have his iCloud password. It has a backup from yesterday. I have no idea how to turn this into something I can actually use. It doesn't have a messages folder or any signs of how to use it for anything other than restoring a whole phone, which I don't want to do. Alright,
I need updates.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what I'm thinking? Maybe she did all of this just so that she could prove, like, look at me, I'm innocent, I'm even saying this online, and then she actually murdered her.
I don't
so.
think she would do it to prove it, but she might be doing it to like give herself some ideas on how to seem more innocent.
Can you imagine? No way.
They do give Reddit profiles to murderers.
What?
Just saying, there's no check.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You don't have to prove that you haven't killed anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. OP also says that when he first laid out the accusation at his parents' house, both his mother and I kept asking him about the messages, and all he would say was that I know exactly what messages he was talking about. She was as stunned as me, and his father just said he didn't understand what he was talking about. He's a man of few words, but there was plenty of head shaking. The whole thing was surreal. No one knew how to react. July 6th is the original post. July 7th, there is a post entitled, Can I force my husband to get a mental health assessment? And do I risk being arrested/prosecuted?
This is just getting crazier and crazier. I'm not smiling because it's like a happy situation.
I posted for advice on Reddit. I'm pretty desperate at this point, and it has spooked me quite reasonably, I think, but also led to me committing a crime and planning another. What are we reading? My husband's iCloud credentials were saved on an old iPad in his office, and I downloaded his backup last night. I have read all of his messages with his sister. Oh, and there is absolutely nothing like he describes. What? I was so excited. I was like, yes, we'll finally know the messages. No.
Maybe he has a secret phone.
That could be.
His incest phone.
Oh, God. I hope not. This poor woman that died as well, like, insane.
Yeah.
I understand this is illegal and I'm concerned about the possible ramifications. I am also waiting for a call back from a locksmith to change the locks on the home we own together, which I believe is also against the law. So apparently they told her that she cannot lock him out of the house or force him to get a psych evaluation. Oh, update, July 14th. This is update on the relationship advice. There were no crazy or even suspicious messages. I've searched over 100 terms and scrolled back over years. I saw a side of them both I wasn't expecting, but nothing that explains the claim I murdered Laura over their chats. Nothing to suggest he was cheating. Obviously nothing to suggest incest. I repeat, no incest. It's crazy that she has to.
Yeah, it would be a pretty big leap.
Yeah. No weird gaps where deleted conversation or switch to another app would fit. Just siblings making plans, sending memes, and gossiping. They said unexpectedly horrible stuff about a few people, but not me. It was a sort of relief, but it raised more questions than it answered. I sought legal advice, also from Reddit after posting here. Turns out my options are divorce him or sit down. I contacted my community mental health team, who said they reached out, but made it clear it wasn't urgent. I then called his mom and said that if I didn't hear from him by this weekend, I would get a solicitor and ask for a mental health assessment. as part of the divorce. In response, he made a ridiculous post to Facebook and everything blew up.
Oh my god, it keeps going.
On Friday night, he made a long accusation on Facebook with new information. He said he'd been planning to leave me for months with his sister's support, and I found the messages and murdered her. The coroner has reopened the case and the police are preparing to arrest me. He needs to make sure people know before the trial stops him talking about it. In response, I posted the export of his entire conversation history with Laura. I linked to the chat along with a post explaining my side. When I spoke to him the next morning, it's clear he's not having a mental episode at all, but he's claiming one because he's been caught in a big lie. As soon as he was outed, he called me, clearly drunk, begging and promising to explain everything if I deleted my post.
Everything? What? What has not been explained yet? What the fuck? This so many new doors are opening. Like every paragraph is like, I need to know more.
The question of why he did all of this remains unanswered.
Seriously.
And he will not be getting his password until it is. So there we are. The relationship I had believed was my destiny since I was a teenager has bubbled down to petty, convoluted, and vindictive bullshit played out on social media for reasons still unknown. My hope for a brain tumor is fading.
Hope for a brain tumor. Let's hope we never have to say anything like that.
You know it's bad if you have
Hoping
for a brain tumor.
Like,
oh shit. Clearly tomorrow morning is going to be when I lawyer up and stop posting about this. I am mortified. I have no idea whether some people might believe him, and I still don't know why this all happened in the first place. Sorry, I don't have a happier update. And thanks once again to everyone who offered advice. Wow.
what the heck? It's still going on.
There's still more.
I don't think we have time to get to all
No,
of it.
I will link everything.
This is one of the craziest Reddit stories I've ever
It must
seen.
be. Maybe it's fake. Like
It feels like a maze. Like you find one opening and then like you hit another dead end and then you go and there's like a whole new path of maze. I don't know if that was an ADHD like summary of the situation.
No, I think it makes sense. Like absolutely insane.
Speechless.
I'm speechless. I hope it's fake somehow. Like someone. But why? Like would it make sense to be so committed to? Right?
It's so text heavy.
Yeah, but I cannot imagine, even going through grief, I cannot imagine you accusing me of murder and then being able to pick up where we left off. We would need so much therapy. I don't even know.
I do feel like it's like what you said or we were saying, that it's a mix of grieving and guilt. Like there is definitely like some other like force besides grief in play here, in my opinion. But there's no advice to give. Like
not much advice.
They're done. It's clear.
I think if we just pretend that we don't have any update or anything, the only advice I would give her was to just be careful to what you tell him and try and convince his parents to see medical help, because I can't imagine finding yourself in this situation, having someone who is your partner, your person, the person who you go to in case of like really bad everything, and then this happens and blows up into your face. Like it's
I do think as soon as one partner accuses the other of murder, like you don't need to take that, I signed up to be with them, support them in everything. Like I think you can switch to a mode of looking after yourself at that point and not standing by them, you know.
I think it's a very
once you've been accused of murder, like that's
you can
time for sure to look after yourself.
Yeah. Crazy story.
Really crazy.
I
want to read one.
Welcome back for story number 2.
Hopefully a quick one this time. Do you know what I didn't think of as a potential option for the last story? Maybe he killed his sister. Did he have an alibi? Now he's like blowing up on her.
Interesting.
Because he's... Alright. Shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. I think my 45 male son, 21 male, is going to come out to me later this month. How do I make sure it goes well?
Cute. I think it's cute that I mean,
you want to make sure it goes well.
I think it's nice that this parent wants to make sure that his son feels comfortable
And safe.
I don't think my mom would have to be like, oh my god, like what do I do if she comes out to me? And, like,
I mean, first of all, I think that families should be like, I don't think such things should exist as a family that doesn't talk about these things or
absolutely.
whatever.
I mean, absolutely.
And also, like, I would think that I believe that every family should strive to have it be obvious to their children that it will be fine no matter what. That would mean discussing LGBTQ plus rights openly, and sharing your support for them, regardless of what you assume your child's sexuality to be. Like in your case, you didn't even need to come out.
That should be the norm. What I had with my mom and my family should be the norm. Like, never had to come out. Like, it doesn't matter. I knew from the beginning it would not change a single thing. And that's why, I think I said it before, I think ideally we'll get there in a society where you don't have to come out. Because nobody is put in a fucking
I'm not
closet.
trying to bag too much on the dad, like it seems like he
no.
wants his child to be safe. But there's an even further ideal world that we're trying to strive for here.
But since we are in this world, in this society as we are now,
and he would have been raised a certain way.
It's a positive thing.
Okay, let's read it.
Let's go.
My son is gay. I knew when he was 5. My wife claims she knew when he was 4. It's a competition.
Yeah, clearly.
We're fairly competitive with each other, so I think she's just trying to beat me. My family is leaning towards anti-LGBT. They don't hate them, but they like to comment on it. Just homophobia. My wife's family doesn't really care. They're pretty accepting of anyone as long as you respect others. So, again, I'm not trying to bag on the dad, like, he's been raised a certain way, whatever. It sounds like his family's anti-LGBT, so he's only had so much exposure to what, like, a pro-LGBT family would look like. But seeing as though he's known since the kid was 5, you can't really know as well. Like, anything could be going, it could just be their personality. But also, if you had any suspicions that your child was queer, that as soon as you make that realization, which in this case was 16 years prior, that is the point where you should try and make it a comfortable, welcoming environment.
I would say,
and before that.
And I would say, especially because his side of the family is anti-LGBTQ plus, like, especially because they are not welcoming and not open-minded. They're basically assholes. Especially because of that, I think you should show your children, even be more passionate about it. It doesn't matter whatever you are,
kind of
whatever
combat that other information they're getting from other people close in their lives. Yeah. My son has tried his best to hide the whole gay thing. Don't know if I like that. It's worked pretty well so far. He's had a few girlfriends and took his girlfriend at the time to prom. We thought he might be bi, but he never got the same look on his face when he looked at a cute guy versus a cute girl. Him and his friend Dakota have been hanging out a lot recently. I think they're dating, but it's hard to tell. In the weeks leading up to June, my son has been acting stranger. Pride Month. And so far this month, he's still acting odd. I'm thinking with it being Pride Month, he wants to come out. It's nice that he pays this attention to his child.
It looks like he loves his child and is like paying attention to his behavior.
These are green flags for sure. I assume he's afraid to tell me because he thinks I have the same views as my family. So why do you assume that? Like, you should have made it clear that you have different views.
That's what
I meant. From the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good that he's coming and asking advice. Do I wait for him to tell me, or am I supposed to tell him I know? Should I make a joke about the fact that it's been obvious to me for the past 10 plus years? Or is this a serious thing? Well, I think if you assume that he might be assuming that you have the same views as your family, then maybe don't make any jokes.
I don't know. I think a joke might be a good way to break the ice. But it depends on your family dynamics as well.
I would honestly, like, if my parent came to me and said, yeah, I've known for 10 plus years, I would have been like, well, why weren't you making it obvious to me that you would be accepting then? Like, why have I been so like, why have I wasted that 10 years
Yeah.
being in the closet
Yeah.
if you knew all that time and you accepted me anyway? Like,
Yeah,
it should have been obvious. Obviously, we have quite high standards on this kind of thing because we're affected
Yeah.
by it. But I'm really glad he came to Reddit and asked, like, rather than
Yeah.
just doing whatever.
I think that is great. I think that is the first step towards a better society in future, but hopefully we'll get to a point where it doesn't
and he'll have
get
some
to this. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna say some things that I thought he could do to show that he was accepting. Buy a rainbow pin, a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
Start making comments about
Yeah.
LGBTQ rights when things come up on the radio,
Yeah.
on TV, especially with Pride Month coming up.
Yeah, that's
the
a
perfect
perfect
opportunity.
You could watch a movie as a family, maybe start a conversation.
And that could spark a joke as well. Like,
Yeah.
he could put on like a gay movie and be like, oh, I think that's so lovely, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the son could make a joke. Yeah, this person said, given that it's Pride Month, take the opportunity to show your son your acceptance and allyship by commenting positively on how great it is when people find love.
Yeah.
No matter their genders, love is love. Mention how you don't understand how any parent could disown their kid for being gay, since there's nothing wrong with loving someone, etc. I wouldn't tell him outright that you know, because that is kind of taking away his coming out and stealing his thunder.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's about thunder, it's about a choice for the queer person to decide what moment it is that we're all going to talk about it now. Like, it's going to be out in the open kind of thing.
Also,
control should belong to the queer person.
Yeah. It could be he also doesn't know it for sure yet. Maybe he's bi, maybe he's gay, like maybe he's still unsure.
There could
maybe
be
he's always
other
known,
reasons.
like this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why he might not be ready to come out. So I think sometimes being pulled out sooner than you're ready is, I don't think it's about having thunder. Like, I don't think anyone's thinking about their coming out as like, oh, I can't wait, like, for all the attention to be on me.
Maybe someone.
Maybe there's a couple of people, but
Yeah.
I don't think in this
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, I would severely shut down your family whenever someone uses homosexuality as a slur. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, like, leave queer books around might be an idea.
Yeah.
Like, just start sprinkling your life with allyship and acceptance.
Like, because it's Pride Month, probably at the shops there's so many Pride things. You can buy a mug and, like, I don't know, anything, and just to start a conversation, just to show the support. Even not for him, like, someone suggests, like, you could talk about a co-worker or someone you know or anything like that, and be like, oh yeah, I just think I should be more proactive in showing that I am an ally or things like that, and without talking about him personally.
Okay, here's the update. The evening I posted, I spent a few hours reading and rereading the comments. I was trying to work up the courage to have the conversation with my son. Not because I was afraid of the answer, but scared I was going to say something wrong and damage our relationship. A lot of you gave me the courage to start a conversation. I decided it needed to happen that night or else I'd lose my nerve. As soon as I knocked on his door, my mind went blank. I asked if anything was wrong and if he wanted to talk at all. I said that I had noticed him acting differently over the past few weeks and wanted to make sure everything was all right. He said he was a bit sick recently, and that was probably what I noticed. I didn't want to push too hard. A lot of people said I needed to make sure he knows how I feel. I told him that if anything was wrong, I would hope he would talk to his mum and I. We love him and we just want what's best for him. That's a good thing to say. Okay, so the Sunday after I posted, it was Father's Day. We had a family dinner with the wife and kids. After dinner, my son came downstairs and asked if we could talk. He looked visibly nervous and his voice was shaking. He stumbled over his words before saying that he's gay. Ever since our daughter, his older sister, was born, my wife would say that she loved the kids so much that she just wants to squish them. My son started to say it back before hugging us as tightly as he could. It became a bit of a tradition that the tighter you hugged, the more you loved. When he told us he's gay, my wife and I nearly killed him with how tightly we squeezed him.
So cute.
We told him we loved him and were proud to be his parents. This is
so sweet.
They sound like such a loving family. Like, they do sound like open in the way that sharing your emotions and love for each other is acceptable and encouraged, which is really beautiful.
I think they were probably raised by parents who either talked negatively about it or didn't talk
Just
about it
shy
at all.
away.
So they didn't have the
tools.
means, the tools to bring up the topic earlier and to make him feel more safe
Yeah,
earlier.
they just had no example of, just like queer people don't have examples on representation on the fact that they can be queer. Parents also don't have examples of how they can show allyship.
Yeah.
We ended up talking for about 2 hours about everything going on in his life. Him and Dakota have been seeing each other for a few months. And Dakota said that he loved him.
Oh,
his son wasn't ready to say it back, but Dakota didn't pressure him.
fair enough. That's beautiful.
When Dakota came out, he thought they would be supportive, but they weren't. They kicked him out on graduation day, and he's been on his own ever since.
Which is also why maybe his son was so scared too. Because, I mean, if this Dakota person was so sure that
things were going to be okay, so even if these parents had been making it relatively clear that it would be okay, like this could be enough to make him think
makes sense.
That might not necessarily be the case. Aww. Yeah, so they've been talking about, it seems like Dakota and his son, OP's son, have been talking about
obviously. Yeah.
the potential of the worst case scenario happening when he comes out.
Fair enough. It was so traumatic, I imagine, for Dakota, so it's great that they talked about it together.
Aww. We invited Dakota over for dinner to get to know him a little better. He's a great guy and isn't afraid to help out. My son is really lucky to be dating him. My son is a much happier version of his normal self. My daughter is a bit upset that her brother found a boyfriend before she did. Obviously, she isn't serious. She really likes Dakota as well. Thank you again for all the help and advice. I'm glad I was given the push to check in with him. Hopefully others can learn from my mistakes and experiences. And the too long didn't read is, I'm happy that my son is happy.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
That was a very uplifting one. I think we needed that after all the murder talk.
Murder, crazy scenario, incest and murder.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful update. It's a beautiful story. And it's great that he also talks about, at the end, he says, like, hopefully other people will learn from my mistakes, etc. So he acknowledges that he should have done some things a bit differently and a little better. But the important thing is that he learned and he showed his son that he loves him and supports him. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really, really nice to hear that, especially someone that's come from a not accepting family can see what is, to us, such an obvious thing, which is that you should just want your child to be happy, and seeing them in love should make you happy no matter what the gender is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's such a simple thing to understand.
It should be like, you shouldn't even understand it. You should just like know it. Like, it's, I don't know.
And OP has shown that even when you've had like specific views basically shoved down your throat since birth, you can still wipe that away and
use your brain and be a good parent.
That was really wholesome.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's better to finish on a high note.
I think so. We can't handle too many crazy stories. All right, that's it for today.
Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think about the stories. And
were we too harsh? Were we too easy?
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next week. Next week.
Next time is the same.
Ciao.
Thanks for watching. Oh, thanks for watching. Ciao.
Ciao. We need a countdown. Ciao, mates. My goodness.
We're so bad.
Feeling hella gassy, but there's no fast.
Hello.